What if Iran doesn't collapse? What if it resets? What if the Islamic Republic doesn't survive this decade, not because of invasion, but because Iranians themselves decide the revolution is over? Decades of unrest, protests, economic hardship, and political suppression have left many questioning whether the current system can endure. But what if the endgame isn't just about replacing one regime with another? What if the core of Iran's political identity, its leadership, its symbols, undergoes a transformation that's less about overthrowing and more about reclaiming? A transformation that could redefine Iran's future and its role in the world. And what if what replaces it isn't another weak republic, but a king? This isn't just a fanciful notion, it's a concept that seems almost impossible in the modern era, especially in the Middle East, where monarchy is generally seen as a relic of the past. But Iran's history tells a different story. For centuries, Iran was ruled by monarchs, Shahs, who embodied the nation's identity and stability. Could that history be reborn, not as an authoritarian dictatorship, but as a symbol of unity and strength? Could a king, distinct from the autocrats of the past, serve as a unifying figure in a deeply divided nation? A Shah, not as a dictator, not as a Western puppet, but as a symbol powerful enough to reunite a fractured nation and flip the balance of the Middle East overnight. At the same moment the West is showing it's willing to act again, from Venezuela to open support for uprisings, Iran suddenly becomes the most important question on earth. Because the future of Iran isn't just an internal matter, it's a geopolitical pivot. It's about energy, security, and influence. Controlling the flow of oil and gas, shaping regional alliances, and determining the balance of power in the Middle East. What happens in Iran could ripple across Africa, Asia, and Europe, reshaping global geopolitics. And in that context, the idea of a return to monarchy, once dismissed as outdated, takes on new relevance. Because if Iran changes how it's ruled, it changes who controls energy, security, and power across 3 continents. And once you see why a new king of Iran isn't crazy, you won't look at 2026 the same way again. What's at stake isn't just Iran's internal politics, it's the future of global stability. A change at the top could mean a shift in alliances, in energy markets, and in the very balance of power that shapes our world. Before you switch this off and think, this is fantasy, remember, revolutions don't fail because people want freedom. They fail because they don't know what comes after. Revolutions are messy, chaotic, unpredictable, but the true challenge isn't just toppling a regime, it's establishing a new order that can last. Iran has already tried the alternatives. Clerics promised justice, strong men promised order, reformers promised change. All of them failed for the same reason. None could unify the country once fear stopped working. Each attempt to reshape Iran's destiny has faced the same hurdle. How do you hold a fractured society together after the revolutionary fervor dies down? How do you create a sense of continuity amid chaos? And here's the uncomfortable truth most analysts won't say out loud. For deeply divided countries, monarchy often stabilises faster than democracy. It's a provocative statement, but history offers examples. Monarchies have sometimes provided a unifying figure that transcends factional rivalries, especially in times of crisis. Not because kings are better people, but because symbols outlast factions. A crown doesn't need to win elections, it needs to be accepted as above the fight. A monarchy, in essence, functions as a national symbol, something that can serve as a rallying point when everything else is falling apart. It isn't about personal power, it's about collective identity, and Iran already has that symbol, whether the world likes it or not. The real question isn't could Iran have a new king? It's why so many powerful players might quietly prefer it that way, and that's where this story gets dangerous, because a return to monarchy isn't just about Iran, it's about regional stability, international influence, and the silent power plays behind the scenes. So if Iran were to reset, not descend into chaos, the question isn't who takes power first. It's who survives once the street celebrations end. Who can maintain authority once the initial euphoria fades? Who can unify the country beyond the political slogans? Because it won't be the clerics, that chapter is closing, and it won't be another revolutionary council. Iranians have seen how quickly those fracture into infighting, purges, and disappointment. The revolutionary experiment has run its course. The challenge now is stability. Who or what can provide it? What tends to endure in moments like this is not a politician, but a symbol that already exists in the national memory. Something older than the regime, older than the revolution itself. A symbol that can serve as a rallying point for unity, something rooted deep in Iran's collective consciousness. Iran isn't inventing an identity from scratch. It had one for thousands of years. Continuity, hierarchy, and a single figure meant to stand above ideology, a role designed not to rule every detail, but to anchor the nation when everything else collapses. Throughout history, this archetype has been a source of stability, a figure that symbolises the nation's soul, its traditions, and its enduring identity. And here's the part that surprises people outside Iran. That symbol never disappeared. It lives in the diaspora, in old flags, in protest chants that don't make Western headlines. It's a quiet, persistent presence, a reminder that Iran's identity isn't solely defined by its regime. He doesn't need to seize power, he only needs to be invited back into the story. And when you understand who this figure is, and why both protesters and foreign powers quietly tolerate him, you'll understand why Iran's future may look far more ancient than anyone expected. This isn't about a new revolution, it's about a return to an old enduring symbol that can transcend politics. Iran doesn't need another revolution, it needs a referee, and history shows crowns do that better than ballots when a country is this fractured. This isn't about nostalgia, it's not about going backwards, and it's not about recreating the past. It's about what survives after a revolution burns through its slogans. It's about finding stability amid chaos, continuity amid upheaval. Because the figure we've been circling around this entire time isn't a strongman. He doesn't command an army, he doesn't lead a party, and he hasn't ruled in decades. Yet his name still ends arguments inside Iran faster than any politician alive. He's a symbol of authority that can rally the nation even without formal power. Not because everyone loves him, they don't, but because enough people accept what he represents. Continuity without clerics, authority without ideology, and a state that doesn't need permanent revolution to justify itself. His presence is a unifying symbol that can bridge Iran's deep divisions and anchor in turbulent times. And here's the part rarely said openly. For foreign powers, this kind of figure is predictable. Predictable states don't need constant intervention. They sign treaties, they stabilise regions, they stop exporting chaos. A known symbol provides a predictable, manageable partner, one that can bring order rather than chaos. That's why this outcome doesn't arrive with tanks. It arrives through exhaustion, through compromise, through a population that decides uncertainty is worse than symbolism. The collective decision that stability, symbolised by a king, might be the lesser evil. So when people ask whether Iran could ever have a king again, they're asking the wrong question. The real question is whether, after everything that's happened, Iran can afford not to. Because sometimes the most enduring power isn't gained through elections or revolutions, it's inherited. Because history doesn't care what we prefer, it only remembers what restores order, and that's why the idea of a new king of Iran refuses to disappear. It's a silent, persistent possibility, a symbol that echoes through Iran's history and its future. What do you think about the future of Iran? So, could Iran's future really be shaped by the return of a king? Or is it just a myth waiting to be reborn? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.